Alright, what's up ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? It's your guy Ohgrr here. I'm just here to give you guys a list of things that they don't really tell you when you start the game, or things that you might have just skimmed over and missed when you started the game. Hopefully this helps a lot of the newer players, and hopefully this helps a lot of veteran players who maybe just didn't realize a couple of things. It probably won't, because we've been playing the game long enough. A lot of these things kind of come as you go. The first thing is that every day when you log in, the first thing you should do is go to your premium shop down here, because they're going to offer you 2 free items in your premium shop. In the premium shop, they're going to offer you a tatami mat, or picnic mat, whatever, and a energy drink. This is used for 100 energy, this is used for 30 energy. Honestly, if you do this every day, in the early levels, you won't need this until you're around level 25-ish, when you actually start burning through a ton of dungeons every day. If you play a lot, then you might use it earlier, and that's great, but it's really nice. This should show up in my hems here in a second right there. These are just, they're free, they're there, collect them, why not, you know what I mean? When you collect them, like I said, this one lasts 30 minutes, you can get a couple people and everybody else can get a bit of energy, and then the Z energy drink just gives you flat 100 energy, so it's nice and
Alright,
nice.
so
And
for
this next one, I wish I had some gameplay to show you specifically what I'm talking about, but hopefully you understand the concept and I don't have to find video. If you want to see video, I can prove it to you. Early on in the game, you're going to die a lot. It's just how it works. But if you're with a group and you die and you're not fighting the final boss, don't waste a respawner. You shouldn't be wasting them anyway. It's not a big deal. If you don't complete the dungeon, just abandon and restart. But if you guys aren't on the final boss of an area and you abandon and you have a member of the party still in the dungeon, you can re-enter and then just be where you were, and it's not a big deal as long as you hit abandon. This doesn't waste respawners. You might lose a little bit of XP if they're killing mobs while you're not alive, but not a big deal. And it's easy, right? Following that, in the abandoned system, if there is ever a time where you just need a little bit here, let me just cover this up down here. If there's ever a time when you just need a little bit of XP, but you're especially later on in the levels and you start dying a lot, or you're concerned that you don't have enough energy to keep grinding and you don't want to waste energy just getting that like 5% XP you needed from a dungeon, you can just die and abandon and you lose no energy for doing the dungeon. You only lose energy if you complete a dungeon, so if you and your whole party abandon, you lose nothing. So it's just nice, and it's an easy way to make sure that you're not getting screwed over in the long run. Alright, so the next bit I wanted to explain is guilds. Not a lot of people know about guilds, and it's more of a, oh, it's there, but we don't really use it. They join a guild not thinking about the actual benefits that they can gain from a guild, sorry. So as part of a guild, as you guys grow and get stronger as a guild, you'll get Zenny as a guild, which is a percentage of what everybody makes. You can get skills. So this skill gives 5% bonus XP to everybody in the guild. So that's great, especially for new players when all the XP items are so much more important. This one reduces how much it costs to repair your gear, slowly adds up over time, saves you some money, cool. This one right here makes it so you, like, you don't have to spend as much to put items on the market, and you don't have to pay as much for items on the market. It's only 1%, but again, these things add up over time. The other big benefit of a guild is the fact that you have people to play with, you have people to talk to, and you always have people to party with. I know that a lot of new players can never find groups if they're doing auto queue and things like that, and this is just an easy way to make sure you can always find it. Another thing is you get this cool icon right here. Following that, once your guild gets level 2, they get a guild storage, which is nice, because people like me, I'm going to come in here and put in blueprints. So if you ever are in this level range and you wanted this armor piece, you can come in, take the blueprint, and craft it yourself. I would put this in, but I'm going to use this for another bit here in a second. It's actually a pretty solid roll, but that's going to lead into our next point. Alright, so the next thing I wanted to list is how important dismantling is. Everybody comes to the trader and they end up selling using the sell button. They sell everything in their inventory, and like, yeah, it's cool, you're getting a little bit more zenny, but at the end of the day, you really do want the materials that come from all of these items that you're getting, especially uniques like this. Let me put this in a two-part, because I only have one item to show and use for this portion. You should generally sell uniques, or because, like, let's see how much this will sell for on the market. Anywhere between 55 to 300k. This is based on the stats of the weapon. This weapon probably had high crit chance, high crit damage, and XP percentage. This weapon gives damage, armor break, and attack speed, so it's pretty okay, and then it gives bonuses to one of Lily's abilities and a flat attack. It's actually a really good roll, but it's not the most important thing. Oh look, I have some other things I can actually take out here. Let me do this. Make this a little easier. So I'm going to list this because this is how you make Zenny. Rather than trying to sell items one by one for, you know, anywhere between, I don't know, let's say 5 to 10,000 Zenny on the trader and hoping that she'll give you the proper amount for it, which she never will. You can just sell it on the market, and then dismantle things like this. Dismantling gives you two things. It gives you components, and it gives you something called Aether. Aether is a currency listed right here in your inventory. I have 37,000 Aether. Aether is used for crafting. So if I had a blueprint for, say, I don't know, let's say this mask that I have equipped, right? It could cost me anywhere between 1 to 10,000 Aether, or even more depending on the item and like the quality of it, all that kind of stuff. Later on things cost more, earlier on things don't cost as much. So it's really important, because otherwise when you hit late game, when crafting becomes how you get your gear rather than just buying it or hoping for good drops, and just crafting gear becomes your best option, you're really going to want the Aether to make sure you can roll enough. You're also going to really want all these materials that you're getting from all of this is dismantling. Another thing I wanted to mention real quick was upgrading. Everybody seems to want to upgrade everything as much as they can, as fast as they can, and that's cool. But at the same time, I just mentioned how important saving all of your materials for late game is going to be. Honestly, upgrading your armor is just not worth it in the long run. If you feel like you're hard stuck and you really do need the stats, go for it. But otherwise, there's no need to upgrade armor, because you're going to trade this out so fast that it just won't keep up with how fast you're having to upgrade. And you're going to end up going broke, spending all of your zenny on upgrading and all of that rather than what you actually need your zenny for. Your weapon, on the other hand, feel free to upgrade. Up to a +4 is generally the safe mark. Anything past +4 and you're risking breaking a weapon, I can show you real quick. So let me unequip, upgrade. So you can see that I have to use an anti-destruction right now, and that's for it. So when you go above +4, you have a chance for your weapon to break, and you have to use this in order to prevent it from breaking. But even if it doesn't break, you can fail your upgrade percent, or your upgrade chance. So you're still stuck at a +4, but you wasted your 36,000 zenny and your 650 Aether or whatever. So just keep that in mind. Up to +4 is completely free, completely safe. You still have to spend your zenny and your Aether and your upgrade costs, but you don't risk breaking your weapon. And it's just really not worth using these now, because again, when you hit late game and you're going for a +9 weapon, you're going to need a lot of these in order to get there safely. Alright, so I'd mentioned that zenny comes in time, and eventually you'll get enough and you'll make enough. Right now I'm kind of poor because I just spent a lot of zenny doing some crafting, because I want to make my character look good. This is the reality of the game. But zenny will always come. There's always more zenny, but you can only ever get so many upgrade materials. That being said, a lot of people get these early, the weapon upgrade chips and the armor upgrade chips, and they're like, alright, cool, I don't plan on using those for a while. How much do they sell for? They look and they're like, oh my god, 1.5 million, 1.8 million, like, that's much. Please don't. Please do not waste your time. You want these, and you're going to regret it when later in the game you need them, and you're like, oh, I have to spend 1.5 million each. So I have like 20 million in items and all this stuff sitting in my inventory that I'm not going to use, because why? You know, later on you're gonna have to grind them again, or you're gonna have to buy them again, so it's better to just kind of hold on to these things until later in the game. And so I have two more things to touch on this character before I switch over to show you a couple other things. One is Akasha Transmitter grinding. It's not really relevant to this character specifically, but it is something that I can mention on this character. I'm gonna leave that up to block chat. There's something called Akasha Transmitter grinding, and if you're familiar with the game enough, you realize that when you complete an area with this progress chart and you hit 100%, you get something called an Akasha Transmitter. So when you get an Akasha Transmitter, you have a chance between a 1 and a 4 star and really cool rolls and everything. What the grinding portion of that is every single day you can get online and you can delete 3 characters. So that means that you can make 3 characters and delete them. So you can come through, make 3 characters, complete the first area, get the Akasha Transmitter. It takes anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes. Roll the Akasha and then throw it in your bank, and then delete the character, rinse and repeat the process, and within an hour you'll have all 3 done. And it's just one way to get Akashas that is cheap and it's easy. So if you don't plan on making or deleting a ton of characters in a day, there's no really downside to it, so feel free to try it out. Putting Akashas in your bank is going to be the next point that I wanted to touch on. For account transfers, sorry, I'm looking at my inventory, not my bank. In my bank, I have Akasha cards in my premium, because these are cards that I already have on this character or another character that I don't plan on using. When it comes to different characters, the only things that transfer are your bank, and that's it. None of your friends transfer, none of your guilds transfer, no titles, no money, nothing like that. The only things that you can take from character to character are listed in your bank. And it's honestly easy enough to transfer things. I can come in here and throw in premium items, so I can come in here and throw the mats that we talked about earlier, or any of these materials, and I'll have access to them on my other characters. But there's not like a global inventory, there's not a global guild, there's no global friends. Everything that you do on one character is completely separate of the other. That includes your energy, that includes titles, that includes pretty much anything you can think of. The only thing that really transfers is your bank. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to touch on this character is something that I completely skimmed over, and it took me a little while to figure out about District 6. District 6, in case you haven't been here yet, is essentially like a core area, and then there's all of the major towns branching off of it. Inside of this core area, there's PvP and level 55 monsters everywhere. I haven't seen a lot of PvP. I've seen some, but not a lot. It's not very frequent that I've seen it. Perhaps people like set up the duels or whatever. But when you come out here, if you're like me, you spam through all the chat and you don't care about any of the text. But if you talk to this person right here, you can switch zones and it will safely fly you from one zone to another. So I'm in Gray City right now, so that's where I'm going to fly. And you're going to hop on this handy dandy helicopter and just fly over the center zone. It's safe, it's easy. It costs 2,500 zenny for me to get from one place to another, but that's not really a lot. But if you're really lazy and don't feel like running through all the area and trying to climb up all the ladders and do all the other shit, it's not bad. Alright guys, so the last point I really wanted to touch on is your skills. Everyone seems to just like, oh cool, I can level an ability, let's put a point there, let's put a point there, let's put a point there, you know what I mean? As soon as you get an ability, I understand the want to throw a skill point in an ability just because it looks cool, increases your stats, all that kind of thing. But something to really keep in mind is planning for the late game. There's only 55 levels in the NA servers right now because it's still in beta, as compared to Korea where they have more skill points because the skill system's a little different. They're updated, and I'm pretty sure they're up to level 60 in Korea. So try to look online, see if you can't find a guide for your abilities. You'll notice that one of my core abilities right here only has 1 point. This ability only has 1 point, even though I could have put more points in them by now. The build that I looked at showed that these builds, these aren't as important, and when you really look at them you can understand why. This has pretty mediocre damage. The armor break isn't that great, whereas compared to something like this where the damage is much higher, the armor break may not be as much, but the damage and the percentage for armor break just kind of makes it a little more worth it. I found my build online literally just googling it. Somebody in stream helped me link a couple of good ideas, and you don't have to use these guides to a T, especially the one that I'm about to show for my Haru. My Haru, I'm building off of a Korean build which has 60 levels, which let me show you the screen real quick. There we go. Okay, so let me disable my overlay real quick in my camera real quick. So on this build, you'll see that Haru only has 1 point in Storm Strider, or Pierce Step as it is in Korean, and only 1 point in these core abilities. But you'll also notice that they have no points in Arena Rush, which to me sounds terrible. I think this is a great skill for, maybe not for a solo player, but for a group. It gives bonus damage to all your members of your party, and it's a cool ability. So to me, I'm going to take those points. So you don't have to follow these things to a T, especially because not all these things are relevant. This ability, for instance, it shows 3 points in a sub-tier, like one of the branching off options, but this isn't in the North American version, so it's not entirely relevant to me. Following that, it has 0 points in this, which strengthens your attack. This actually is 5% bonus per point you put in it, so up to 15%. So why they don't have that, I don't know. But it's something to keep in mind, so you can have an idea of what skills are actually important, what skills aren't. I can 100% agree that this skill is not important enough to waste ability points in, because when you play with it, it's just really clunky. It's not great. It's not strong. It doesn't have large AoE. It's kind of good for single targets, but even then, it's not great. So don't waste your points. Don't be stuck in the mentality of everything needs to be, oh, cool, I got a point. I can level this up. Let's level that up. Because by the time you hit around level 20, you'll notice that you won't have enough skill points for everything you're trying to accomplish. The last thing I wanted to give you guys as my things they don't tell you is this game crashes a lot. A lot. One of the things I found that causes crashes is as soon as you leave a lobby or a dungeon and you try to do something immediately. If I leave a dungeon, try to immediately leave a party, my game almost always crashes. Find your little find what causes you to crash and just try to prevent yourself from doing those in the future. It's still in beta, so give it a chance. It's a very fun game. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys have any other tips for new players or for me for things that I didn't know, or if I explained something poorly, feel free to explain it better. Real quick, the last thing I'm going to tell you, just because it's relevant right now, you can block these guys who spam gold selling just by walking up and blocking. But there's so many of them. As soon as you leave Rucko Town, they pretty much don't exist, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But thank you guys so much for checking out the video. I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed or learned something from this video. If you could please leave a like down below, hit subscribe if you enjoyed the content. I'll try to make some more in the future. Also check out my Twitch. I try to live stream almost every day playing this game. I'm getting ready for a move, so I might not be as active as I would like to be. All those links will be down below. Thank you guys so much for the support, and see you in the next one.